Okay, we are live. I am chatting with Ashy today. So I've got to get her invited. I'll wait for a few of you guys to jump on too. Oh, there you are. Okay. Let me get you added. Added you. All right. Yay! Hey, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. All
Good.
right.
Yeah.
So I know people are slowly going to be hopping on. You know what's weird is the live, like the number on there is never accurate because it's like I always look at it and then like Jesse watches it too, my husband watches it too, and then he'll be like, "Oh yeah, there was like this many people." I'm like, "What?" I always see it and it's like a few people.
Oh, that's
I have
interesting to know.
I have no idea how to read it right. Okay, so today we're talking about pricing correctly, right?
Yes, I am so interested to know how people come up with their pricing for their services and products. Like, is it just a number they pull out, or have they really thought about it? Is there a strategy behind the numbers?
Right, right. So I think a lot of people, because they get it wrong. A lot of people that I know that I've spoken with, a lot of girls, beauty girls who, just pick prices. They kind of, I think the first thing that they go off of is competitors. I think that's what I even did too. Even
Mhm.
for like my industry, it's so easy to look at what everybody else is charging and say, oh, well, I'll charge that, but I'll charge half or whatever, right?
Yes. I really feel like the worst thing to do is to literally undercut yourself and undercut other businesses.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be competing and creating a price war. You want to like stop thinking about competing with, this business that's similar to you. You want to like kind of work with everyone. There needs to be
Great.
a standard and not just be like, okay, well, I want all these clients, I'm going to charge $100 less than the person next to me. Because at the end of the day, you're the one selling yourself short, and it's not sustainable because there's a reason why people are priced the way they are. And it's because when you start getting into business and you start paying your overheads, and then your taxes come in, and all these extra costs that you don't even know that you were meant to be paying, like insurances and things like that, you really need to plan for all of these surprises that are going to come up that you don't even think of. So, yeah, don't ever undercut just because you think you're going to get more clientele that way. Because if you cheapen your prices, you're only going to attract the wrong clientele. You're going to attract the clientele that aren't going to be loyal, that aren't going to stick with you. They're going to jump around and find the cheapest service or the cheapest product, and that's not sustainable. So definitely do not undercut. Don't even, yeah, it's not something that you should be doing.
In your opinion, when somebody is like in the beginning of their business, because obviously they think, well, I'm in the beginning stages of my business, how else do I get clients, right? In your opinion, what's the best way to kind of, start out with the right price points?
I love to do an introductory offer. So whenever I have new employees or a new service, I always do an introductory offer, which is a special price just for the first month. I always offer people an option to buy the product online or the service online as a voucher so they can use it in the following month if they can't come in that month where we're doing the offer. But an introductory offer is really good because it helps, brings people in the door. It gets people trying your new service or your new employee. But they also know that this isn't going to be the price forever. So you're going to attract people to come in and try, and then it's up to you to keep that client and get them rebuying
It
or
is true
rebooking.
because it's kind of like, who knows if you're new or not. Like I used to go to European Wax Center and I know a lot of people, a lot of estheticians start out there. I couldn't tell you who was new and who was, experienced. It just wasn't something I, really paid attention to. I was in and out. Just just wanted my stuff done, right?
Yes, yeah. And so I think, I mean, creating the introductory offer just creates a little bit more awareness, and does get people coming in the door, and they know it's not going to be a cheap price, you know, in months to come. But also, instead of like discounting too much, why don't you just add more value? You know, so instead of being like, okay, let's take $100 off the price, instead, why don't we add like a customized face mask, or you know, whatever it is that you're doing, like offer something else extra instead of, you know. Yeah,
I'm big on that. I'm real in fact, you know, with as I coach even design clients and stuff, you know, all businesses across, I would rather than go cheaper, I would rather add more. Rather than, you know things are slowing down, rather than cutting your prices, how can you just put more into it, right? So that it's worth more, and then people are going to buy at those price points. And so that's really big. And so, you know, I think the thing that a lot of people think about, or a lot of beauty bosses, you know, think about is, you know, I'm just trying to make some money right now, right? So that it's that self-employed mindset, of like, I'll do anything to just make enough, and so that I can quit my job or go full time or whatever. And like you said, they're not thinking about the overhead stuff, right? Exactly. It's intimidating.
It is. And yeah, exactly. People are just thinking, I just want the clients in now. But again, we're talking about sustainability. You know, we want to create consistent months, and we always talk about consistent and predictable income. So that's what we want to create. So your prices should really, you know, you need to take so many things into consideration when you're looking at what prices, you know, and pricing you should charge. Like, you want to know that you're making profit. You want to know what your overheads are. You want to know, like, you got to think about your time is valuable. Okay, so what is your time worth? Okay, and what happens if you have a sale, for example, like Black Friday's coming up, or Valentine's Day, or Christmas? If your prices are so low, how are you going to ever have a sale? Like, you're just going to lose money. So I feel like you've got...
And too, you know, it's funny because I'm in all these beauty groups. I see estheticians and microbladers and lash techs, and everybody's complaining about, well, not everybody, but the ones who have low prices complain about, you know, their clients. And what I'll say about that is, it's funny because, you know, if your clients were paying prices that you were happy with, you probably really wouldn't be complaining about them. They wouldn't be a dark cloud in your life. Right? So like, I see a lot of complaints like, oh, this client did this, and this client said this, and this client complained about this. Well, if that client was paying something that you were happy with for that, you know, time frame, it wouldn't feel that way, right? It's kind of like coach versus you know, first class, right? We naturally know that we get better service in first class. When we've gotten first class compared to coach, it's different, right? So, you know, people know when they're paying more, they know they're going to get better. Better, whatever it is. And you're going to, as the service provider, give them better, right? So like I was saying in our last slide, I pay more for sugar waxing. And, you know, what I was getting from European Wax Center, which is like this melted rock thing, then going to the nail salon and going to the back of the room really quick, right? With just a regular hot wax. And the reason why I'm willing to pay $45 for my wax is because I get that a better experience. The experience is better, right?
Yes, I totally agree. So the clientele we have it's amazing. Every time I have someone new join us in the clinic, they always say to me, oh my God, your clients, the clients that you know, your business attracts, are so lovely and appreciative. And I'm like, I know, they're so great, because we have a standard, okay? We have a price standard, and we have a standard across the board to reflect that price. And that's what people expect, and they're so happy with. when I've had a couple of clients that have come in and they're trying to barter with me, and I'm like, no, you're not for me. You're not my type of client, and that's fine. You can go somewhere else. Obviously, I say that nicely to them, but you don't need to back down, because you should know what you're worth, and then you're going to attract the people that don't even question the prices, like, because they know that you're worth it.
I agree. I agree completely. In fact, I believe I have better clients now, being a service provider, with the pricing that I charge, and I'm above the average in my niche, in comparison to when I was charging to just get a sale in the beginning, when I was winging it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Exactly.
Right? It's just the type of people that you attract. But I will say too, if there is the problem of clients bartering and clients not wanting to pay the prices, there could be a disconnect between the price that you're wanting to charge and what you're putting out there as a business, right?
Yeah.
And that can be your brand, that can be the sales experience, right? How's the onboarding experience? How's the experience overall in your, when somebody comes into the salon? Like you said, there's a certain level, there's a standard you guys have, And so that's why you're able to charge that. And so you have to live up to that. First class isn't first class because it's like Coach. First class, I'm drunk in first class talking to whoever and having a great time. In Coach, I'm trying to find the right angle to fall asleep, right? Yeah. So it's just a different experience, right?
Exactly. And you need to live up to that price. So
oops. I think you just muted.
Have the right branding. Oh, am I back? Sorry. Yeah,
you're good now. You're good now. Yeah.
Oh, good. You've got to attract the right kind of clientele who want to pay that price, and that's by having, the right niche, the right branding, the right marketing strategies. It's not just, hey, I'm going to set a price really high and then hope for the best. There's, planning and strategies, marketing and branding that has to go with it. Like he was saying, like if Coach and business class, like there's a difference. So you have to define who you want to be, what clientele you want to attract, and make it an experience. So people don't even question, oh, I just paid that. That was not worth that. I don't know anyone who's ever said that, like in my business anyway. So you just make a
certain, a lot of people, they get scared when they hear this, but it's true. There's some, if you're treating your clients a certain way right now because of the price points, just understand it. It has to change. The way that you talk has to change. Me, when I charge, my packages on average are large, right? And but if I have a disgruntled customer or somebody who's confused, the way that I respond to them is very different than the way I would respond to somebody who's paying me, almost nothing. And so you see this a lot in the industry, where I see even like text messages and stuff in between, a beauty girl, esthetician, microblading, whatever, and who's maybe working on the side hustle right now, to their client. And it's almost like, well, oh my, I couldn't even tell my friends about you, and knowing that you could talk that way, right? So it's a level of etiquette that you have to learn how to also have as well, on top of being friendliness and being genuine goes, I've said this over and over again, but it goes so far. Actually caring about the client, right? So that they can trust you. I mean, I talk about my med spa girl. She does like my filler and all that. That woman will tell me whatever, and I'm like, done. She's like, you need this skin thing, and I'm like, put it on the bill. I don't even ask her. Like, like, why? Like, I just trust her because she's so open with her knowledge. She's constantly just giving me knowledge, educating me while she's servicing me, telling me things, telling me, being real with me, not just like sell, sell, sell. And because of that, I have this relationship now, and I had just met her a few months ago because I, was changing places, and I'm always raving about her because I'm like, she's like a keeper. That's a keeper, somebody that you have for life. And, that's something that I push for with, clientele. You want return clientele, right? And so it takes a certain attitude, right?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up because I make it very clear to all my girls that they are not to call clients love, dolls, things like that. I'm like, no, I am like, because you don't know who you're speaking to. It could be, someone who's older than you. Like, it's just, I feel like it's just not the correct etiquette. So everyone knows they don't answer the phone, they don't return a message, and they do not say, hi, love, come through. There's none of that. So the way you speak, also the way you dress and things like that, you want to look the part. Like, you always want to dress to impress, be professional, look the part, act the part, and the clients just love that. They want to come back and they don't even ask the price.
Agreed. And so then, you have to think about like the actual mathematical, things like time, right? So how much time are you spending on the service, right? So that you're not losing money,
I speak to some people and I ask them what they're charging for a certain service, and I just get so shocked because I'm like, oh, so you're actually negative, like you are not making any profit. Or sometimes I have a goal, like to make 10 grand for the year, $10,000, sorry, for the month, and I'm like, okay, well, what are you charging for your your most popular service? And again, I see it a lot with eyelash extensions. It might take people 2 hours and they're charging like $80. I'm like, so that's $40 an hour. Then you've got to take your rent from that. You've got to take your supplies, your marketing, like your taxes. I'm like, so you're honestly probably left with like probably less than $15 an hour. And how are you going to, that $10,000 for the month becomes so unrealistic. So there's so many factors that play into it. It's definitely mathematics and planning. You need to know what your hourly rate should be to cover all of those expenses. So, it's definitely maths behind it for sure.
And for those of you who are like, because I remember even for myself being so confused by that. Like, I just had my CPA help me because it's as simple as just figuring out, okay, my electricity bill is this much, right? And I'm working this many hours. I'm in there for this many hours. My light is on for this many hours. And then so how much am I actually spending per day on this electricity bill? And then you're figuring out by hour, and then you're able to figure out how much it's actually pulling from your services.
Yes.
And so it sounds very intimidating, and I remember being very intimidated by it. But that's a simple way to figure it out. Yeah. And while there is a lot of there's a lot of things that as a business owner, it's hard for you to understand and you really should be pushing it off to your CPA. Right. Yeah. There is, there's gross and there's net profit margins. And so, with these profit margins, with the net profit margins, that's where you start really deducting the serious expenses and figuring out, oh my gosh, am I going to actually, be in the negative this year when I do my taxes, or am I going to be paying some taxes on some money? And sometimes even like for me and my husband, we had to figure out how to up our expenses, because we were not spending enough and we were going to have some crazy bill. And I would rather, for me, spend it on new equipment, than pay the tax man. So it's just good to know how to do all this yourself, educate yourself.
Yes, I love numbers, and I love targets. I love KPIs. I love knowing what my bills are and what I need to achieve. And I like to break it down and work out what my employees need to make per hour, what I need to make per hour, what the business needs to make per hour. It does make it a lot easier to manage and get profit if you know those numbers. And it, it is, you need to sit down, work it all out, collect all your overheads. It does take a while, but once you do it, like, that is your number. And it's so
and then
much
you know
easier
it. You know what you have to hit at that point. You're empowered by it.
Exactly. It's, you can't just plan for today. You literally need to plan for the future. So, things like, okay, well, does your business want to make profit so you can invest back into your business? Do you want to do extra training? You need to kind of put away money to do extra training, or if you want a new machine or a new product, or what if your rent goes up or your supplies go up? I know like during COVID, like shipping and supplies went up like drastically. So, you have to have this wriggle room because you need to adjust and adapt. So you can't just be like, pushing it. You need to have that wriggle room to make changes, and still be earning profit. And
it's important for scaling too. So many girls, they want to jump in and they want to get girls underneath them. And
exactly.
At what point do you do that? How do you know? You have to know your numbers, right?
Exactly, because if you ever want to get an employee, you need enough profit to pay their wage, pay the employment taxes, pay the overhead still. I know in Australia we have to pay their retirement, and you also have to have the business making money as well. So you need to plan ahead. What if you need or you want a receptionist or a VA? So a receptionist, for example, or a VA may not be bringing you in money essentially because they're not doing treatments. So you need to make sure that you are bringing in enough money, like your prices are set to, to plan for the future, to pay for a receptionist. So things like that, like, people don't think about because they're just thinking about, okay, well, I'm starting off on my own. I just want clients in, so I'm just going to, charge a really low price. But then all of a sudden, like, you could be growing, or you may want to be growing, and you need to really adapt your prices. But if they're way too low to start with, taking that leap it's going to be really difficult. So it is good to get this started from the beginning.
And, it's easy to get prideful and say, oh, well, I don't need that money right now. I'll just, in a few years. And, the thing that I like to really remind, people is, like, if you're in business, what are you in business for? You came in to make money, essentially, right? So business is, well, first and foremost, it's to solve a problem. You said, I can solve this problem. There are girls in my area who need their lashes done, who need the skincare done. I know so much about it. I'm passionate about it. This is something I can do for people. But then you get scared, and that fear causes you to say, oh, I don't need to dream big. I don't need to work hard. I just, I'll just stay over here and make a few thousand a month. And that's not what you're meant to do when you go into business. When you go into business, you've got to take this seriously and focus more on, how can I start really being able to work on my business so that I'm not stuck in it all the time. Exactly. Because when you're stuck in it, there's no way to grow. I mean, even, with service-based, that's the thing, is that in order for you to grow, you've got to get out of it. You're in it, like, that's probably when my first few years, doing branding, because it's service-based as well, my husband would get on me and he'd be like, Erika, you've got to do this, 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 and this. You got to focus on your Instagram. And I was like, stop. I've got to work on what's actually making money, right? I was in like survival mode. Like, how can I just make more money? And I didn't even realize that, like, there were so many things I was missing out on. In fact, I was cutting my own growth by not focusing on the business. Yeah. And so, and if that's something that you don't even know what that is or how to do that, that's, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
you know, you need some strategies, and you know, ultimately, number one is, you know, with the foundations of your business is knowing, you know, what clientele you're attracting. If you're not attracting the kind of clientele that's going to pay your prices, unfortunately, it's one of those things that you gotta attract new people. And if you don't know how to attract new people, that's again another strategy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's really easy to just get stuck in the business, but really you want to make the business continually make money while you're not in it. You know, you want to, what if you know, you got to plan for the future. Like, what if you need a holiday? What if you have a baby and you need some time off? What if, you know, does that mean all your money just completely stops? Like the business stops? Like you need it to keep rolling. So you need to be able to step back and have the business working for you as well. And it really is about the planning and the strategies that you have to put in place. But it really is hard to take a step back. Like it took me years to step back from my business, like to step back from being in it, and working in it, instead of on it for so long, because I don't know whether it was a control thing or a scared thing. And I love what I do. So probably a mix of all of that. But it's not until you really step back then it starts really blossoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I really, you know, that was something that I was so like really just hard about. I said, I got to do what I'm good at. What I'm good at is making the day by day money. And the truth is that's a hamster wheel. That's you're never going to be happy. I could not take days off. My husband and I had money. We got to go, you know, travel. We'd go to Vegas and drop tons of money in Vegas, but then I'd be in the hotel room working. And you know, and so it's one of those things that you get stuck in, and you have to learn how to scale, and ultimately it starts with, you know, one thing, which is driving those sales up. And so that you can afford, like you said, you can afford, you're making more money than what you're spending, so you can afford to scale, right? And so, and the foundation of that is the price points, and getting the price points at the right place where people are buying them. The start of it is the right clientele, right?
Exactly. And you want the right clientele is definitely a massive part of it. And you want to, I always tell people, like, you have to invest back into the business. So whether that is, you know, extra training or a bigger facility or investing by hiring an employee or a receptionist, you have to be investing in your business. So definitely that you need to take that into consideration with your profit. Like, for example, we are known for eyebrow tattooing, but we still do other treatments like lip tattooing and things like that. But we only just started off doing eyebrow tattooing, and then our clients would be like, do you do lip tattooing? And I was like, well, no. But so many clients started asking because they already trusted us with one service that they were like, well, we really want you to do that because you've done our eyebrows. We want you to, you know, do the rest of our face. So I'm like, hey, so I need to spend more money on training. And if I didn't have the correct pricing, those clients would have gone somewhere else to get their lips done instead of giving me that. So it's like, you have to invest in yourself and your business. And also, like, let's even just think about how much money and time you spend, you know, learning your craft, perfecting your skills, like whether it's courses you paid for, apprenticeships, the time it takes to perfect your skills. Like, that's money. Your time is money. It's valuable. So why are you not even paying yourself what you've even put into yourself or what you're worth? Like, I don't get that. I mean, you need to value yourself. I mean, I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on my skills. And so that is worth paying for. Like, people are going to pay for that because I've invested in myself, paid for all this training, business training, all of that. Like, you have to, that's an overhead that you've got to, consider.
It's funny because, meeting people who don't value self-education, I'll never understand it. I've been investing in self-education since I was 17 years old. I don't understand it. Here's the thing, and you can relate because you also built yourself from nothing. When you are somebody who is self-made and you don't have those parents, like I went to a really expensive Catholic school. Okay, it was like it's one of the top ones in the country, honestly. I got there because of financial, assistance, and my friends had gone there, and I had all these little loopholes to get in. I had no business being there. The girls, they didn't wear backpacks; they wore Chanel bags. Everybody drove Range Rovers, and anyway, the point is that I watched people, these kids who we would take an economics class, and they would, by the end of the week, they would have, their parents would have stocks purchased for them. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there on the computer like, I don't even know how to work this thing. And, it's such a different world when you have those opportunities and you have parents who are supportive and who understand business and are willing to teach you that, like I'm doing now for my daughter. And, a lot of people do now for their children, that we're seeing now that entrepreneurship is so big. But when you're somebody like us who we were taught, I know in in my life, I was taught, money doesn't grow on trees. And, I asked my mom, how do I buy a nice house out here in La Jolla? And she goes, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer. That was the only way I knew to get rich, was you got to be a doctor or a lawyer. And so what did I do? I went to school to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer. And, I had no idea that there were so many other ways to make money. And so anyway, to become one of those people who is making the kind of money that I wanted to make, I understood early on that you had to first become that person to be able to accept that kind of money. And it's not like a weird laws of attraction thing. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is there's a certain level of like pressure and stress and problem solving that you need to develop as a person. No book is going to teach you it. No, no like YouTube video is going to teach you it. It literally takes investment in yourself, going to courses and getting coaches and going to seminars and all of these things. And it's not just one thing. So many people are looking for the get rich quick thing. They're saying, oh, I want to meet this coach so that I can make $1 million. And it's not that. It's all of the things compounded over time, and you put it all together and you become this strong person. Because what I have found is I have helped a lot of people hit big money, and then they like back out and they're like, whoa, that was crazy, right? Because there's a level of problem solving and strength that you need. And unfortunately, you're not going to get it just by reading books and looking at free YouTube videos. You have to get around people who are like that.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to hire a coach, go to seminars, invest in courses, do all of the things, right?
Yeah.
Do it all. Sorry, not to go on a tantrum, but that is like my thing. I love self-education, and I never stop learning. I'll never stop learning. It's not a negative thing, so I don't understand people when they say, oh God, that's a lot of money. To talk to a millionaire, that's a lot of money. And it's like, what are you talking about? I just don't get it.
I know. You got to surround yourself by, with the people who have done it. You want to speak to those people who have done it, who are in a position where you want to be. Like, these are the people you need to learn from. And you have to invest in yourself. I mean, when I first, started my business, it was like, it was scary, because you're like, well, what if I fail? But I mean, what if you don't? I mean, you're never going to know, but you're either going to be on the same path and just, living month to month, or you're going to step out and be like, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to invest in
Right.
myself
And
because
even fail, like what is fail? Like
I
the only way
know.
you fail is like, I guess dying, right? Like I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I like, yeah, so nails by Bink. She just said fail forward. I fail forward. I
Yes.
want to,
Love that.
yeah, I want to know like what I want to know every no, every wrong thing so that I learn from it and I don't do it again. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
even if the people who are like, oh, I want to be a millionaire and I want to have employees. Do you have any idea what kind of stress it is to have employees? Like finding good people, them quitting on you last minute and you've got to rehire, and that's failure because that takes growth on its own, right? And there's fear there. I've even, felt fear with, oh my gosh, I've got to find a new person for this, or I've got to do that, or I've got to retrain, or the trust that you have to give them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even you, especially, you literally, your employees are in another country
Yeah.
managing your business, right? That's
Yeah. Mhm.
stressful.
It is stressful. It is stressful. But again, like, there has been, I'm pretty, I've hired, quite a few people now. So I have kind of learned a lot, but there's definitely times where I have hired the wrong people, and, then you learn from it, and then
Right.
you just get even better employees. So, it is 100% failing forward. Like, you just got to give it a go, learn from it, and then do it better. It's just,
I love relating things to like dating, and it's like
mm-hmm.
a lot of people that, for instance, like just because just, if you want marriage, it's a scary thing to have your first boyfriend, but you got to do it to get to
Mm-hmm.
the point where you can get married, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
if marriage is the goal or whatever is the goal for you, you've got to jump in and go through that first relationship. And it's hard. You
Yeah.
learn a lot. Maybe the first relationship's a complete failure because you just didn't know what you were doing and you said the wrong things and
Exactly.
you disrespected them and you didn't know you were, or your love languages didn't match up. Like there's so many things, right, that go wrong. But even if you break up with your first boyfriend or girlfriend, does that mean that you are not
Just don't,
meant for marriage?
you
No.
just don't do it again. You just give up.
Right. And nobody does. Nobody does
Mm-mm.
because they don't see it that way.
Yeah. But it's the same
And
thing.
I don't understand why business is so different, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
speaking of like dating, so this is, yeah, I love that example. So my first relationship, um, I obviously invested time. Okay, so invested, over 6 years, and I invested a lot of money into the relationship because for some reason I was going down this path of always being the one supporting their boyfriends. So when that relationship ended, I had probably spent like I was young, so it was like from six actually it was like 13 to 22. It was just crazy, but I had
Wow.
spent like probably lost about $20,000, right,
Oh my
on
gosh.
this person. And then you just, that's it, it's ended, and you have to mentally heal because you're like, oh my god, I just, that's $20,000 that I spent in this relationship. But then you still get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
You're still earning money, you still getting another relationship. Yeah, I still kind of did the same thing and failed again in that relationship. But then I picked myself up again, and well, now I'm married and totally different story. But it's just, yes, you invest your time, and then you can stupidly invest money in people, but it
Yeah.
doesn't stop you from doing it, and you just learn from it, and then the outcome is a lot better because you have to learn from your mistakes. So yeah, investing in yourself is kind of like exactly what you said, investing, it's like dating.
It is. I love comparing business to dating and like working out because it's very similar. Like just because you know, your muscles hurt after the first time you go to the gym, does that mean that you just stop going to the gym? You know, or, you know, it's so funny. People like who don't feel like coaching can do anything for them. Do you mean that when somebody hires a personal trainer that they don't get better because of the personal trainer? Like, because you're essentially, first of all, you know, when it comes to coaching, you've got to know what you're getting into. You got to have a plan for your heading into the coaching program or whatever you're doing, right? What do I want out of this? What am I trying to do for myself, right? And just like hiring a coach at a gym.
Yeah.
And so if you're not going in there, you know, blindly, and I know a lot of us do, even I did my first time, I didn't know what to expect. I just went in and thinking that I was, you know, I didn't know what to expect. And so, you know, but now being one of those people who's done it and like, you know, now I believe that if you really want a true great experience with a coach, you've got to come in with a plan. And so if the coach isn't starting out with the program with a plan of action of some type, that's a red flag, obviously.
That's a red flag. Because
Definitely.
they're winging it as well.
They are winging it.
They're winging.
Yeah. And there should be some type of plan. You know, unless you paid for just like question asking, you know, I mean, obviously some people, they tailor their program to the way they want it to be. And I'd pay for an hour to talk to Grant Cardone. I would just like ask him questions all the time. I would pay for that, you know, but if it's somebody specific who does something, I'm going to try and pay to learn that, you know? And so, always going in with a plan is really big when it comes to coaching. But ultimately, a lot of it should be, if it is business coaching, it should be a lot of what we just went over, which is, you know, figuring out, is the foundation right? Let's inspect what we're expecting. Are we expecting, you know, were we promised that we were going to make 10K a month in 3 months? Okay, where are we currently at right now? What needs to be adjusted? Are we even set up in the business to be at 10K a month by the end of the 3 months, right? Or should 3 months actually be a focus on the foundational things so that you can be set up for the next 3 months to focus on 10K? And so that's ultimately, it all comes down to like all these things that we're talking about. It's the foundational things, the strategies, and then the strategies that it takes to get there, right? And to achieve these things in the right way. And so the thing is so many of us we're winging it. We don't know what we're doing. We're just running because, you know, it's 2022 and you can be anybody and start a business, right? Nobody's really stopping you, and it's kind of in right now. And I just see a lot of, which I even did myself, you know, I see a lot of us winging it. And so at some point you're going to realize that, oh my gosh, I'm on a hamster wheel and I've got to figure this out. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's fine to ask for help because you can't do it all on your own, especially, you got to stop winging it and get the support that you need. So Absolutely. There's a lot of things that you cannot work out on your own.
Absolutely. I think we went over everything we wanted to. You know, it's really about just focusing on, am I set up the right way? You know, or am I just hoping for a great month and I'm really not even sure if I'm going to hit it? It's really easy to figure out, even mathematically, it's easy to figure that kind of stuff out on yourself. But then the question is it sustainable on its own? Like you said, right?
Yeah.
So, and if it's not, then you're not using the right strategies. You've got to figure out the strategies. And if that is something that you need help with, you know, Ashy and I, we actually have combined forces, and this is what we do now, is we help other beauty businesses and their businesses finding those correct strategies, setting their business up for success, the plan. We're both obsessed with planning and executing, and that is what we do. So please feel free to DM one of us for a complimentary call so we can chat with you and even see if it's something we can do. I mean, there's, you know, sometimes you're fit, sometimes you're not. So Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you wanted to add or anything?
Nope, that all sounds good. Covered
Awesome.
covered a lot.
Cool. Well, okay. Well, then, I will get this closed out. For those of you guys who are still here, anybody that's still here, we are doing these bi-weekly right now. So, if you want to hop in 2 weeks, the next Wednesday, we will be on same time, same place. But yeah, great. Okay. Well, thanks for being on with me today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Okay.
listening.
All right. Bye, everybody.